roots there. My great-grandfather was a member of the York Rite over in Central City. He was commander, high priest over in Central City. So we're tied in very closely to the land and this area. So there's a brief synopsis of the Masons with the gold mine area around Central City, Blackhawk, Nevadaville.
Okay. Now, that was wonderful. Let's see if I'm going to have you just take a step back.
Oh, sorry.
You walk. That's okay.
I moved.
I'm going to ask you to, let's get a concise soundbite of the Masons' connection to mining in this area, Central City, Nevadaville, and their role.
Okay, like 2-3 sentence concise. Okay, so the Masons in the state of Colorado came out here with the end of the Civil War, and many of them became closely intertwined with gold mining. The Masonic community in Colorado, a large chunk of the founding of it was founded in the Central City, Blackhawk, Nevadaville, Gilpin County region.
What role did there's the story about in the first issue of the Denver Post, first page, had a call for Masons to work in the mines. What connection? Why were Masons desirable people to be working in a gold mine?
Two reasons. First of all,
repeat a little bit of the question back.
So why the Masons would have been valuable in the gold mines for two reasons. First of all, they could generally be trusted to keep a secret. Claims and the location of claims was extraordinarily important to be kept private because claim jumping was a real thing. And if word got out that there was a claim somewhere, if somebody found out, it would be gone. So it was very, very vital to have people working who you could know would keep a secret. And second of all, Masons are obligated to not cheat, wrong, or defraud other people. So you could trust that a Mason would give you a good day's work. He wouldn't steal from you. He wouldn't line his pockets. And by the way, that's a term because they actually used to line their pockets with gold dust. That's where the term lining your pockets comes from. And you could trust a Mason.
Okay. Now I'm going to get the exact same thing just in a couple of sentences.
Okay.
So, people hired Masons in mining communities because they could be trusted to keep secret, and they wouldn't keep that. Okay.
So they would hire Masons to work in the gold mines because a Mason could keep a secret, and he would be able to be trusted to not steal from the employer, not take gold ore from the mine unlawfully.
Okay. This is what I was looking for. Well, not that you'd be an expert. Do you know anything? I have a section here that dovetails and talks about the native peoples, and I basically say, well, Masons. Let's see, that's not.
I can't talk about the native cultures.
I get it. It's me writing scripts that are a dream. Let's see. So about Masons and miners that mine in this area. Oh, well, I think I know this. Why did Masons eventually and people eventually leave this area?
Nevadaville specifically, because we ran out of water. Arsenic from the mines, from the tailings, washed into the water supply and poisoned it. and people couldn't live here anymore. There was no water. So they moved down to Central City. A lot of our buildings are not here, not because of time, but because they literally carted off all of the stones down to Central City to build the buildings down there.
Well, that's interesting. Wes told me that this was he said this has been called the richest square mile on Earth. I don't know how true that is, but that was the claim that he's made.
I can actually answer that. I can tell you why that is the case.
And talk about that, and also whether or not this is still an active and viable gold mining area.
Okay, so this could be considered to be the richest square mile on Earth for one major reason. They built a tunnel from Idaho Springs to Central City to move the ore over to the Argo gold mill. In the process of doing that, carving that tunnel out, they found 2 of the only 5 mother lodes that have ever been discovered in the history of man. One was the Comstock. I don't remember where the other 2 were. They weren't in Colorado. And 2 exist under the mountain just to the south of us. That's why you would call it the richest square mile on Earth. Because nowhere else have we ever found 2 mother lodes in the same tunnel. And a mother lode, by the way, is a vein of gold that is bigger in diameter than your arm. Pure gold. So that's why you would call it the richest square mile on Earth. Is mining viable up here? Short answer, probably not. At this point, because it's going to cost more to get the gold ore out of the ground than the gold ore is worth. We're very rich with our gold ore here, but it still requires an awful lot of processing, and what gold is left now is going to be very deep in the ground. So you're going to have large amounts of water to deal with, you're going to have EPA restrictions to deal with. So right now it's economically not viable to mine. There have been brief times when the price of gold has gone up, like it is right now, where it becomes profitable. But it's not it's too volatile for them to come in with large-scale mining operations because they don't know if it's going to stay that valuable.
Are Masons still involved in gold mining today? Is there still a Masonic connection to gold mines?
Probably not. I mean, individual brothers may own gold mines, but in general, as with all things Masonic, we've declined in a lot of spheres. It used to be if you walked into the House of Representatives in the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., 2/3 of the men would be Masons, as would the president, 4 of the 9 Supreme Court justices, etc., etc. We're just not that numerous anymore.
Why do you think that, I'll jump on that just a little bit. Why do you think that Freemasonry has declined in this country as historically? The show Freemasonry in the Old West, I talk about all of these famous people that can, Masons, that, and looking at the West was so plentiful with all these Masons. Why has it declined?
Well, Masonry always goes through cycles. When they founded this country, virtually every member of the founding fathers were Masons or connected to Masons. Then we had the Morgan Affair and the anti-Masonic Party and the Know-Nothings and things like that in the 1830s, 1840s, and Masonry almost completely ceased to exist in America. Then, starting around the 1850s, and especially around the centennial of the United States, Masonic numbers started to surge because people started to recognize that the country was founded on Masonic principles. A lot of our organization is based on Masonry. So we took off, then we crashed a little bit around 1900. Then we surged again, and the golden age of fraternity was actually the 1920s. Then we hit the Depression, and people couldn't afford dues, they couldn't afford membership. Masonic membership declined. But then it picked back up in World War II and in the years after World War II, as the soldiers returning to America were looking for the same sort of fraternal bond that they had in the battlefields of Europe. And they found it in Masonry. But then the baby boomers happened. And the baby boomers weren't joiners. The baby boomers were, as has been classified in a whole bunch of other documentaries and things like that, they were the me generation. They weren't really that interested in an us situation. They were interested in me. And Masonic membership plummeted in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Both because we weren't bringing people in, and the World War II vets were dying. Hand over fist. They were just dying. And now the Gen Xers to some extent and the millennials are starting to come back in and starting to repopulate Masonry, looking for something more, something deeper. Masonry goes through cycles, and it reinvents itself for what each generation needs. Sometimes it can't reinvent itself for what a generation needs, like the baby boomers. Sometimes it can. The millennials are looking for more esotericism in their life. That's why you see this rise in the esoteric side of Masonry and the decline of the what we call knife and fork Masons. That was the previous generation.